Hello, sisters. Welcome to the Sacred Medicine Podcast, weaving powerful, soulful practices into functional medicine. Step into this beautiful space of devotion and explore everything from nurturing foods, rituals, sexuality, and awakening your innate sensuality. It is time to own your radiance. This is the Sacred Medicine Podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Sacred Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Margaret Romero, and today's guest is Kit Murray Maloney. She is the host of Oh Actually Podcast, and today's topic is none other than self-pleasuring, or what she calls solo sex. For the past 2 decades, Kit Murray Maloney has been an activist, student, and entrepreneur committed to channeling her passion for gender equality into a celebration of women's sexual pleasure. She earned a master's degree in gender and social policy from the London School of Economics and has been featured in Marie Claire and Glamour magazines, as well as a regular contributor to the Huffington Post. She launched her multimedia site, Oh Actually, to create a more open dialogue around the existing taboo and yet ultimate importance of women's self-pleasure and to promote creative, beautiful, and hot erotic works made by women for women, because genuine female orgasms heal and better the world. Well, Kit is someone that I know is going to be in my life for a very long time, because she is someone that I can just go and hang out with and we can just talk about all of these topics. I mean, seriously, I want to be her new best friend. So I hope that you get to tune in, because today we talk about how to make time for some solo sex, why that's even important. Why is self-pleasure so important for women? And it is. Trust me, you have to listen in, because Kit tells you like it is why it's so vital for us as women to have this as part of our life. It's just like sleeping. It's just like cooking. Like, it needs to be part of our everyday existence. Now, maybe not every single day, though that would be a really great thing. But really making the time and the effort to put into some sensual pleasure for yourself. So, and that's even whether or not you are in a relationship or you're single or even married. So we jam on that. She also is a huge proponent of bringing education into the adult film industry. And then, of course, we always get a sneak peek into the behind the scenes of almost every woman I have on the podcast, into what they do. And so wouldn't you just love to know what Kit does? I mean, she talks about, and her mission is about opening women up to the importance of self-pleasuring. So you need to know what she does on a daily basis. Daily. It is daily. So stay tuned and on to the show. Hello and welcome back to the Sacred Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Margaret Romero, and today's guest, I am so excited, is Kit Murray Maloney, founder of Oh Actually Podcast. I already know, we're soul sisters, so we are going to be jamming on so many really cool topics today, and I'm excited. If you were sitting in my couch today in my living room, we would be you're just going to be listening in on like a conversation that 2 women who love to talk about sex and orgasm and all kinds of things dealing with self-pleasuring and solo sex, you're listening in on today. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Margaret. I am just delighted to be here and feel in such connection with you, and so excited for our conversation.
Fantastic. Well, I know you have a great podcast, Oh Actually, and tell me a little bit about like your mission, like why you created that, what it is that you want women to learn.
Yeah, awesome. So I have a podcast called Pleasure with O Actually, that's everything about the celebration of women's sexual pleasure. And then I also have a website that's called Oh Actually. And there we have a blog and a variety of different articles and a couple of different offerings that are all in celebration of women's sexual pleasure. And I started Oh Actually because I had been um, in such deep work around issues of sexual violence, actually. I was a college activist and student leader. I wrote new policies for my campus to address sexual violence. And then I went to graduate school where I got my master's in gender and social policy and wrote a thesis that was really rooted in, again, how do we better address and dialogue around issues of violence. So women's bodies have always been something that I'm very passionate about, them having their autonomy and sovereignty of. But after years of focusing on really all the things that I wanted to stop in the world, I decided that it was time for me to ask the question, what does the world look like when women and women's sexuality are truly celebrated and honored?
Oh, yeah.
How do I start creating that world now?
I love it.
So that's really, and a huge part of this for me along the way has been a really deep honoring of women's orgasms and women's practices with themselves. So the term I love to use is solo sex. And I have come to see solo sex as just an incredibly integral part of the female experience. And it's something that I want to open more dialogue around, certainly take away taboo, and really encourage people to make it part of their self-care practice.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's definitely something that I practice as well on a somewhat daily basis. And, having my medical practice, I find a lot of resistance when it comes to this. Because I do talk to my patients about what their libido's like, if they're orgasming, do they self-pleasure, or even using a sex toy if they're comfortable with that. And I would say the majority of women are not comfortable. There's just so much resistance. What do you find? And do you know why there's so much resistance?
Yeah. Such a good question and such a good point. I share that I grew up with this wonderful group of girls that are now women, and there are 12 of us who have been best friends since we were 10 years old. And another reason I started actually just a couple of years ago was because I was reading an article about, actually it was about adult entertainment, which is another thing that I have very strong beliefs on. And I realized how many women are consuming adult entertainment. And here I was realizing that that's the case, and that adult entertainment and any type of conversation about masturbation or solo sex or self-pleasure was something that I didn't even know was off the table from discussion in this incredibly close group of girlfriends. And up until then, I would have said that we had no taboo. And in seeing and having that moment of realizing, oh my goodness, like I don't even talk about this. I still carry shame around this. It was hugely telling to me, and I really wanted to do something about it. And yet I think that's the case for a lot of us. I mean, it's everything from, all the myths about self-pleasure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're intense and they're ingrained in us as little kiddos.
God, I know.
Don't touch yourself. God's watching. You could go blind. I mean, we kind of laugh about it.
I know.
But it's what's being told to our children as they start to explore their bodies, which are designed to receive and give pleasure. So I really understand why people are resistant, but I just encourage a little bit more laughter and humor and awareness, and let that shame guard down and realize that this is a really beautiful gift that you have within your body and you can access it yourself. And that's how I view it.
So powerful. Now, so your friends, out of the 12, whoever it was that sort of had a little taboo around this, have you been able to sort of get them out of, non-practicing solo sex?
Well, one of the coolest things about founding actually has been that it just two things. Like one, I've kind of, I've literally hung a sign on my door saying I'm open for these conversations. All are welcome. And I've also given myself permission to ask questions that I never would have asked in the past. And people, as you know, I'm sure are really craving supportive, open conversation and understanding and education. And so with your work and with your podcast and with what so many other of our soul sisters in the world are doing is really starting those ripples. And so, it's just opened up such cool dialogues with, friends that I've had for decades and new friends along the way. And it's also really shown me that every woman, of course, moves at their own pace and has different, at their own time in life. And a lot of my friends have little kids, and that looks really differently than, having a routine with getting 2 kids off to school before 8 a.m. That's going to have a different morning effect than me, who gets to wake up and slowly take my time and take my dog out and have some fun on my own and day.
Exactly.
So, and that it's been really cool to honor all those differences and also honor our bodies and our sexuality in each phase of life. So it's been really beautiful.
One of the things that I've seen, over and over again, are women, not just a couple of friends of mine or patients or whatever, but in general, I think women tend to sort of push aside their sensuality if, let's say, they're single, and even if they're married, to be honest with you, they sort of push it aside, like, no, I just don't have time for that. Like, who has time for that? Because it is actually, it's a little bit of a commitment of time to just like step into that space, and set aside some time, which can be, I guess it ranges, but if you were looking at like maybe a 30-minute session or even 45, depending on like what you're doing, a lot of women are like, oh, who has time for that? Oh my God, I need to do this. Especially if they're moms, they don't have time. They're doing laundry, they're working, they're picking up the kids, they're shuttling kids around. But even the single women that I see who are very successful women who are like driven, they're the CEOs of the company, they're entrepreneurs. They're like, oh no, get up, I need to go to work. And so all day they're sort of in that masculine mode. They're driven, then they come home and they're still working at the computer and then they go to sleep. And so not allowing any time for any sort of sensual, like pleasuring of your own body, dropping into that space. So how would you say that women can start doing this if they maybe really don't have time or really never thought about it, or really, especially women who maybe even have low libidos, but we can talk about that after. How do you think what's a good way for women to just start connecting with their bodies?
So I love this issue of time because it's a story that we all tell ourselves, and I totally get it. And I am certainly not immune to that story, right? Like you could, call bullshit on anybody who says, oh, I have tons of time in my life, right? And it's really not about, do you have kids or do you have a high-powered career? Life in 2016, 2017 feels very, very busy. And I totally get that and totally honor it. And I think that because of that truth, it's one of the reasons why taking some time to slow down is so powerful. And what I've found in both my solo sex practices as well as my meditation practices is that I was so resistant to really making the commitment to them. And it was so wonderful to have the gift of time from them. And what I mean by that is that when I'm in a really good meditation or solo sex practice with myself on a daily basis, I am reminding myself that there is time and that I can actually slow it down. Because if I'm going through life in a more calm, in a more grounded way, I get so much more done.
Yes.
it's really remarkable. So it's like,
True.
so I often will catch myself in a story of like, I don't have time. I don't have time. And that's now the voice that I associate with it is time to slow down. Because if you're trying to convince yourself that you don't have time, what's really going on? And what's really going on is that cortisol is flooding through me. I am in a fight or flight mode. I'm not going to get done the work in the way that I want it to get done anyway. So I'm just spinning my wheels in the story of there's not time. And what better, more helpful to your body, mind, soul than either meditation or masturbation. And so I really love giving myself that reminder, and I offer it to others, particularly women. You know, we're so busy, but we just get trapped in the BS of that story.
I know.
And and I had a mentor once remind me of the truth that looking at your bank account and your calendar is showing how you're living your life. So what are you spending time doing, and what are you spending your financial resources on? And it's a really good check, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of truth in that we're either zoning and or numbing out in some way. You just have to if you're running 1,000 miles per hour every day, right? So you're either going to be spending a lot of time or money out drinking with friends, or you're going to be spending a lot of time in front of Netflix. Because at some point you have to slow down. But
exactly, right.
Other than these like peaks and troughs that sometimes are caused from convincing yourself that you don't have time on a daily basis, it's just so much more pleasurable and good for your whole being to incorporate these moments of slowing down and self-pleasure and calming, grounded reminders on a daily basis, because then you can cultivate it, and then you don't crave, and then I'll speak for myself, then I don't crave the like extreme release as much, because that never really like feels that good anyway. Like, I'll know, like sometimes it's awesome to like watch a couple of shows on Netflix, right? It's like the best thing ever. But then sometimes you just know also that you're just sitting there freaking out about all the other things, and you just are like numbing out in overwhelm with it. And that feels totally crappy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just that reminder that there is time, and it's your time, and you get to decide how to spend it and how to treat yourself in it. Always, always. Everything else is a story.
So what about someone that's really not a woman that's really not comfortable with touching herself? Not only, okay, so let's say this is a woman who hasn't really had time because she's not really fully connected to her pussy. And so how does that woman start to not only make the time, because that's the first step. Number two, how does she start to practice solo sex? And would you recommend like a sex toy or something like that?
Yeah. So I love this question too, because I just love the honoring of everyone in their own moment. And so wherever you are on this, you might be listening and being like, this woman is nuts. Like one who has the time and like who is that connected to their body that they're going to orgasm every day. But so it might be totally triggering and threatening, or it might sound awesome. It's the reminder you need. Like everything is welcome in this dialogue. And I think that if you're struggling with this whole notion and this connection to body, I really think that activities that you're already doing, particularly showering or taking a bath and adding some more loving intent to your body, is such a great way of taking that first step.
I love that. That sounds
right, because you're already going to be taking a shower. So
exactly.
Now, just when you're in the shower, just be more mindful when you're putting the soap on and you're scrubbing your hair, and the time was already going to be spent. So now you just get to use it to take some deep breaths and to enjoy it and to mark it as a time with yourself rather than just this quick thing that needs to be rushed. And certainly the same thing with putting on lotion afterwards. Just add some intention to that activity that you're already doing, and some awareness to the beauty of your body and your skin and how it feels to be touched.
Yeah, that sounds great. Also, you should be also doing your monthly, this is the clinician and me talking, your monthly breast exams. So
Mm-hmm.
that's also a really great time to just be in touch with yourself. And whether that is doing it in the shower or whether that's doing it in bed when you're laying down, make sure you're at least taking time to connect there, doing some nice breast massages. Okay. That's a great idea. I love that because you're already, naked and
Great.
taking a shower. Or if you do have time for a bath, that's a great time too.
Exactly. Yeah. And, you know better than me, but we're something like 90% made up of water, right? And so there's this incredible connection to water. And I think being in water and then speaking to yourself with really beautiful intent and sweetness is really powerful,
Mm-hmm.
and really can rewire the brain. And again, it doesn't take any more time to take a shower and be spitting out about getting to work than it does to take a shower and tell your body how much you love her and appreciate her.
Yes. And because, I want to add this, and let's say it starts to feel good or you're taking a bath and, you start self-pleasuring a little bit there and you do orgasm. I mean, how would your day look and feel if you sort of started out in such a beautiful, like sexy, sensual way, right? Compared to rushing, not stopping, let's keep going. Do you know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, completely. That's exactly what I mean by like it gives you more time because when we're in that rushed, like frenetic place, which again, I am often. I'm certainly not saying that you'll find me every hour of every day being in this blissed out state. I am a human woman. Things get stressful, right? So, but I always make mistakes. It's very rare that you're gonna trip when you're totally calm, or you're gonna drop the whole binder full of paper that you've been trying to organize all day, and then you drop it because you're rushing out the door, or like all of those things happen in this like rushed state where you're trying to juggle 1,000 different things, and it just doesn't hold up. And so when you've given yourself that gift to calm and to, particularly start your day with an orgasm, what's better than that? And it just has that positive vibration
Yeah,
the whole rest of your day.
totally.
And to what you were saying too, I like so agree with how that truth also connects with other people. So you're giving them the gift of being a grounded, sensual, alive woman, who can be responded to by that,
Yeah.
rather than being a frazzled, sometimes angry, snappy person who is sending that out into the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh my God. Yes. Yes. And there's a lot of women, when I walk through the streets of New York City, it's like you can see it in their face. They are pissed. They're just like, fuck this, fuck that. And yeah, this woman needs some alone time, some alone solo time, solo sex time.
Sex time. Yeah. More of it. I mean, I've come up against it, even by my own mother, who is like, I'm very close with, and she's a huge supporter of what I do and my message in the world and the company and everything. And it was only, I would say, 6 months ago that she finally said, okay, I'll admit that for the past several years, I haven't understood how this isn't just kind of silly and selfish. And it was this really hard conversation, but really powerful. And I'm glad we had it, because I also realized how prevalent this notion of looking after yourself, particularly looking after your sex life and owning it yourself and putting it before other things, has been manipulated into being thought of as selfish. And it just so isn't. It's right. So important, because when we look after ourselves, it gives all of the space for people to show up for us and enjoy us, rather than they having to look after ourselves. And I think when it comes to sex, being empowered and knowing how to please yourself and what turns you on is such a gift to your partner. I feel that so strongly. So it just, it's really important. And I'm doing this series about what does an orgasm mean to you, and the answers have been blowing my mind. Like, it ranges from pleasure to deep connection with spirit, and these are not selfish practices. They are really, really important.
Oh my gosh. They are. They're just as important as, I don't know, cooking your food, making time to like cook and making time to sleep. This is an integral part. Your sexuality is, and sensuality is just who you are, like for men and for women.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And I think the more women are tapped in, a little bit more tuned in, you're right. Other people can feel that energy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
They can pick that up.
Completely.
Big
and
time.
We've all known it. We've known those days where you're just alive. And it's the jokes, right? And like sitcoms, when somebody has like a great night of sex and then the next morning they're like skipping down the street. Like,
right.
We laugh because we know it's true. You know, like, I hope everybody's felt like that in those mornings where like you just had the most amazing sex and you're skipping, and then people see you skipping and smile. You know, it's like
yes,
really contagious. And likewise, and you mentioned New York, and I've lived there a couple of years at different times, and New York is such a vibrant, such an amazing city, but man, can it get you down. And, you know, the inverse of that, unfortunately, is that, like, you know, your taxi driver yells at you, and then you yell at the person that you buy your coffee from, and then that person goes home and yells at their partner. And like, it's just like, stop, we can switch this. We can instead have a really awesome, calming conversation with our taxi driver, because we know that it's just traffic and we're eventually going to get to our meeting, and then he's nicer to the next person who then, you know, it works both ways. So why not be the message of being the grounded, sexual, alive woman that's igniting others into a more sexual, sensual place as well.
Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about what you're doing with adult entertainment.
Yeah. So I've got some new updates on that. Right now, I'm redesigning our watch page, which is where we've hosted in the past couple of years some really beautiful, beautiful videos that are made by women filmmakers and have beautiful storyline and aesthetic. And I think that there's so much space within adult entertainment and to celebrate women's sexuality in a much truer and more honest way, as well as creating work that's really sexually stimulating for women. And so in the next couple of months, actually, I'll be rolling out more videos that I'm making partnerships with other film houses. And so what my commitment to my community is that I will really do my best to know the people who have founded these companies, to have spoken with the actors and performers that are in their films, and to really trust that any sort of concern that you might have about the practices within adult entertainment and mainstream pornography don't need to be present during your experiences of watching these films and being turned on by them. So I'm really excited by that. I think one day I might get back to a dream of making my own films. I did do some producing, which was an incredibly beautiful, wonderful experience, to really connect with incredibly talented actors and directors who just, I wish I actually had been filming the filming, because it was evidence to me that high quality adult entertainment can exist in a way that looks after everybody. And leaving those sets and just hearing Kit, like, please let me know if you're ever going to do more projects. Like, this was like one of my best days on any sort of film, regardless of if it was adults or not. Like, there's a way of infusing positive, thoughtful, open dialogue energy into everything, including making adult films. So I really want to stand for that truth, because I also stand for just more and more conversation about adult entertainment, because the truth of the matter is that it is completely ubiquitous. And just in the past couple of years that I've been meeting, oh, actually, the average age for a young boy to first see mainstream pornography has gone from 11 to 8. And what we've also done is taken out, I mean, think of that, 8. That is like a second grader, like this is his introduction to sex. And it's having all of these really catastrophic problems because kids and adults alike are really, really confused around it all, around why they're being turned on by something that they might judge that they shouldn't be, and how to have sex when they've only ever seen sex that follows the mainstream pornography script.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so what I am really passionate about is having more education to what pornography is and what it isn't. And for me, what it is, what mainstream pornography, vast majority of it is designed to be sexually arousing for men in their masturbatory practices. That is very specific. And that's really it. And it's yet when we try to map it onto some sort of expectation that if I fantasize about this, or if I'm turned on by this, that I must want it in real life, or that this is now what sex is in real life. No. Then we've gone down a rabbit hole. If we start thinking about it as any form of education, we've totally gone down the wrong path. So if it's held within that container, I can hold it in that container. I can see its value in that container. When it's let out of that container, it gets very, very dangerous. And so I want to see more variety within mainstream pornography. I also want to have more discussions with kids and adults alike. I have several women that I've worked with who have so much confusion around pornography that it is a deep cause of pain within their long-term partnerships. Because if you're operating under the misconception that men are wanting what they want from their porn in their relationship, it's very likely you're going to be really hurt, because you probably don't look like a mainstream porn star, and you probably don't enjoy the acts that you're seeing your man get off to
totally
in porn. But if you really talk to men, they will say, like, this is not what I want from a wife or a girlfriend or a partner. Like, in those experiences, I'm craving intimacy. I'm craving honesty. Like, I might want to have some sort of cool dominance play or use some sort of toys and stuff, but it's real life. This is designed to be fantasy. And what I remind women often is think about what so women tend to use different materials, tend to use either sex toys or fantasy within their mind. And I think that's really beautiful and great. But women, if they're really honest, we tend to fantasize about lots of things that we wouldn't want to happen in real life. Like, I'll use an example. It's like taking me to my truth of everything's on the table. But I often fantasize about being with other women when I'm on my own. And I don't have that pull in my life. And so I remind that of, like, and lots of women have fantasies that they have no desire to actually bring to life.
Right.
And that's really great. And I think we need to afford that awareness to males' masturbatory solo sex sessions as well. So that we feel this undue misplaced pressure to compare to mainstream porn.
Got it. I love it. And so what did you say was going to be happening in the next few months?
Oh, yeah. So I'll be curating more films from studios.
Oh, cool.
Have known for years, and sharing those with actually, so that if porn and watching X-rated content is something that you're interested in, but scared to go onto the main sites or don't like the bombarding pop-ups and all of that, it will be a place where you can go and sort of dabble and see what you like and know that it's being made by really great people. Yeah.
There's actually an trailer that you have on your website.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it got me a little hot. Got me a little hot and bothered, to be honest with you. That was
good. That's the best compliment. That's what it was designed to do.
And so I'm curious, were they really having sex?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh,
Okay. They were.
yeah.
It wasn't just like they had clothes on and pretending.
Yeah. No, one couple had lots of sex.
Mm.
And we're still sitting on some of that footage and might be turning that into longer form vignettes coming soon. I will make that announcement when that's possible.
Yeah.
But
I
it's
mean,
really
I'm
a
like, wow,
fascinating
they look
thing.
like they're really having sex. I mean, that is why I was getting hot and bothered just watching them, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
and I was curious. So thank you for clearing that
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. No, it was really special and really cool.
And did you know them? I know this is a random question, but did you know the people? How did you pick the people to
Yeah, to
do
be
the
in
film?
that trailer.
Yeah.
It was so cool. I went down to New York with a very, very dear friend of mine who's based in London, but came to New York. We decided that New York was probably where that influence of interested in doing something edgy, and there are so many actors in New York, right? And we did an open call out and
Oh, cool.
had just, oh my gosh, dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of
Oh,
people show up. So cool. And we talked with everybody, and we knew a bit what we were looking for. We wanted there to be diversity of age, body, race, and again, things that aren't tend to be represented in a truly honored way in lots of adult films. And so we found one couple who had been together for 40 years and was just so excited about the project and so sexually alive and sweet with one another. Um, and then we identified one man that we really wanted to work with, and then one woman that we really wanted to work with. And then we asked them if they had people in their mind who they would want to shoot their scenes with, which was also really cool to give them that invitation. And so that's how we found their partners, was through that.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was a very, very cool, eye-opening, fun experience.
So I would love to know what does your practice look like? Your sensual
Cool.
practice.
Yeah. So, and I love that then you just said sensual. So, because I know you talk about this so much, but I feel like in this interview, interestingly, we haven't talked about the difference between sensual and sexual and the importance of the senses. And so I'm sitting here and I don't know, I can identify 4 vases in about 5 seconds of flowers. Like flowers are just an incredibly important part of sensual practice. I feel differently in my home and in my space and in my office when I have flowers.
Yeah.
They remind me of the undeniability of beauty in the world. And that's really powerful. And it's like, well, if flowers have the time to develop these colors and this aliveness and beauty, then we're all meant to appreciate that and slow down and appreciate beauty, which is kind of what I think sensuality is, using your senses to appreciate beauty and connect to aliveness. So flowers and candles are mainstay staples. Interestingly, I got a puppy a couple months ago. Playing with him is truly a practice. Like it's all it's all too easy to just be like, oh, stop bothering me, stop poking me. Like, come on, I gotta go work. But then it's like, wait a minute, no, like I got you because I needed to remember play and really take the time to just play for play's sake, like,
Right.
I can't and I try, it's hysterical. I mean, my mind tries to convince me that there isn't time to play with him, that I should be listening to a book while playing with him or, all these things. Right. And it's like, no, okay. And it's interesting. Animals are so smart and wise because when I really just not talking on the phone and not listening to anything, and I just play with him and fully present with him, he actually only needs 10 minutes of play. But he can poke me and bother me for an hour if I'm just doing a bunch of other stuff too.
Right, right.
It's a really good reminder to me of that presence is what we're all craving with one another and with ourselves. And then I try to make sure that I have an orgasm every day. And usually for me, that's either something that is a morning routine, or if I'm working from home and I'm getting like very, very stressed out. And it's actually cool because I love conversations like this. It's just like such a gift to be able to jam on these topics. And so as part of my routine for getting ready for them, I've really been trying to more and more own my own message. And so I'll try to make sure that the whole hour before I'm talking with any sort of interview, that I take that hour to myself, and that if it feels right, that I have a solo sex session as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you happen to use any sex toys or anything like that?
Right now, my favorite sex toy is actually a Lilo Vibe. I think it's really pretty and sleek. My personal preference in sex toys, I'm like really into sex toys that kind of don't look like sex toys these days. I don't know why. They just like look really modern and designed. And there's some really cool ones out there. The three like companies that come to mind are Jimmy Jane, Lilo, and Crave. And they're all made with really high quality materials, which is also something that I'm very passionate about, bringing more awareness to. Like, check what your sex toy is made out of.
Oh, yeah.
There are lots of sex toys that are made out of materials that you would not want to put on or in your body. And anybody at a great sex toy shop will be aware of that and guide you in the right direction.
Do you know what is the one thing to like majorly stay away from?
What is it, Margaret? Why? It's one of the S words, but I don't want to get it wrong. It's like,
not, you know what I mean? Silicone.
Silicone. Yeah.
Silicone.
Is that, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
What's the other, I don't even know the name of the other material.
We'll have to look it up and put it in the show notes. And
yes.
We can call my friend at a really great store in Boston. And it's awful, isn't it? I just like trust her. I'm like, just tell me which one. But we'll have to put it in the show notes.
We will. Well, I know that way back in the day, there were certain sex toys. They were made out of silicone that would start to sort of disintegrate.
Yeah.
And those obviously thaw out. If they start to feel like really sticky, they're like toxic. So you're gonna just throw those out. But I don't know the name of, because these days now everything is sort of non-toxic, and I know Lilo is a really good brand. And so, yes, I would say no silicone, but there is something we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah. This is kind of off topic, but on topic because it's involving putting things in our vaginas. But, which I've also just been trying to bring more awareness to myself and other women around what type of materials they're inserting during their periods. I'm a pretty conscious eater. And I really try to make sure that my vegetables don't have pesticides on them and all of those type of things, that I know where my meat comes from. And then I really came to understand that I was like in such denial about reading the label of what was in my tampons. And then I actually forced myself to do it knowing that I would not like the answer. And it was just like, what are you doing? Like, you would not put this in your mouth, so don't put it in your vagina. And I don't know if you've seen that or if you have thoughts on it.
Oh, yeah. No, I have thoughts on this. So the majority of tampons that you see at like a regular CVS or Walgreens or Duane Reade, regular pharmacy, they actually, the majority of them do not have, they won't say what it's made of. Like, they'll just say, because they're not going to put bleach. They're not going to actually say the word bleach or all these other chemicals that.
It took me like 15 minutes. I was in this aisle. It was like comical. Like, I was just like determined not to leave before I could figure it out. But I had to like bring out my phone and Google some of the words because I was like, God,
really?
Yeah.
I haven't, maybe they've updated, but I only use like tampons that are organic, that are not bleached. And I usually get them from like Whole Foods or something like that, or online.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely don't use the over the counter, like all of the ones. If you're not buying it from Whole Foods and if it doesn't say organic, forget it.
Forget it. It's not worth it.
Not. Yeah, they bleach it all.
Yeah,
and there's tons of chemicals in there, so you don't want that up in the vajayjay. Okay, so the Lilo Vibe is the one that you love.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's what I'm most into these days. Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the Satisfier?
No.
Oh my God, this is the one. People are probably sick of hearing me talk about it.
Love it.
It's you can find it anywhere. It's actually on Amazon. It's called the Satisfier. And what it does is actually, it has 11 speeds and it actually sucks, has a sucking motion. And so it actually sucks your clitoris.
Wow.
Yeah. And you can take it in the bathtub.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. It could be immersed in water. It's great.
Whoa.
It works really good.
Thank you.
What's that?
I said, thank you.
And so, I know, I feel like everyone should have a little something. I mean, I enjoy sex toys and I love trying new stuff all the time. So I do recommend sex toys to my patients. We do talk about it if they're not, especially if they're single or, a lot of people when they're married, some may not have sex that often. So it's nice to be able to have something, whether you just want something like the Lilo or if you want something that actually looks like a penis, But I think it's
beautiful, like crystal glass dildos out these days too that are really pieces of art that is also really fun too. So,
yeah. I've used the glass ones and I find them to be really cold.
I was going to say, you do want to make sure that they're warmed up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, let's see what else I'm going to ask you about your sex toys. Okay. So you use the Lilo and that's pretty much like your go-to, but do you use that all the time? Is that something that you're using every day or not really, or just every once in a while?
Probably using it most days. I also have a Crave one and a Jimmy Jean one that I really like. So it just depends what I'm in the mood for. And I do, I'm sure you run into, there is a lot of controversy around sex toys. And I kind of just think it's a reminder to add balance to all of it. So I try to take some breaks from sex toys sometimes too, because I think it's a nice reminder to just be with my body on its own.
Yeah.
But I'm not, I think this whole pendulum swing of always use sex toys or never use sex toys is just silly. And it just takes us out of the conversation of what this really is about, which is giving yourself pleasure. And that's almost always something I can celebrate. So
definitely. I mean, I think that women, if you've never, had solo sex and you're, 2017 and you're like, you know what, I want to start incorporating this into my life and, just start doing it. And if you don't have it as a regular practice, maybe do it, I don't know, 3-4 times a week. Maybe, I don't know if that sounds like too much. Toys or no toys, but just start exploring what feels good to you. You're just using your finger. If you have lube, great. Also for lube, there are ones out there that are not good. So look at the ingredients. A lot of them have parabens and you don't want parabens, in any of your lubes. So look for ones that are organic.
Organic coconut oil is just a mainstay.
That's true. Yeah. Organic coconut oil. Yeah.
And if you can eat it,
totally.
But if you can't, then don't use it. And then Uber Lube is another really beautiful product that's all natural and really, it's not sticky, and it's lovely. And they have a lovely
You
site.
have sex butter on your website.
And sex butter, of course.
Oh my God. I want to know about this. Tell me. I have to buy some.
You do. The factor is amazing. It's really started with this awareness that so many women are experiencing some sort of dryness and she was really wanting to create something again with this notion of like, if I can't eat it, why do I want to put it anywhere near me? And that's really true for oral sex too, right? You don't want somebody else eating the stuff that has parabens and all.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
And so sex butter is awesome. It's like beautifully packaged and so delicious. So.
Okay. So what if a woman doesn't have issues with dryness? Can you use it as a lubricant?
Totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
sure.
it's okay. Cool. Yeah. I saw that and I'm like, oh yeah, I need to buy that big time. Love that. So, well, we are coming. Oh my gosh, it's been already 45 minutes. Is there anything that we missed that you really want to tell our listeners?
Yes, I am very, very excited for February. So in February, I'm going to be launching a Pleasure Pledge, which is a 21-day invitation to women to commit to their daily orgasm.
Ooh, I love it.
And I just love it. It's I've done it a couple of times. We have a private Facebook community for it. And it's daily communication, and that's in line with supporting your orgasm and supporting your solo sex practice. So it's really fun to come together in community. If that feels totally too much for you, then just to get a bunch of different videos and product recommendations and all sorts of good stuff that just remind us to connect with ourselves and to prioritize our solo sex practice. So that's super fun. And it's my favorite time of year to run it because I just find January to be this nose to the grindstone month. And unfortunately, we set ourselves up with all of these resolutions or even intentions that oftentimes are grounded from a place of shoulds and even sometimes treatment, right? Like, yeah. And so then it's like, okay, wash that away in February, spend the month focusing on all the joy, all the pleasure, all the sensuality and sexuality in your life. So I'm super excited about that. And you can sign up for it at ohactually.com.
Perfect. I'll put a link to that. And it's interesting. Did you pick 21 days because I was just wondering because maybe, well, it wouldn't sync up with the period really. Are women still self-pleasuring? Do you self-pleasure when you're menstruating?
I do. Yeah. There's different sensitivity and there's different sex drive and sex needs throughout your cycle.
Yeah.
As I'm sure you know, as a medical practitioner better than I do, but I've loved studying that and bringing more presence to that, and really trying to bring more presence to the different foods that I crave, the different movement that I crave, and the different forms of sex and solo sex activities that I crave.
Totally.
It's really powerful. But for me, mostly when I'm bleeding, I'm still feeling sexual desire and cravings. So honor that. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Well, I've got a couple of quick questions.
Okay.
I usually end my call. So let's see. Okay. I love this question. This is actually, you're the first person that I'm asking this question to, because I just thought of it today. What is the hottest place you've ever had sex?
Hot springs.
Okay. Which one? Which hot spring?
I might get in trouble. I might not get allowed back. There are these beautiful, beautiful clothing optional hot springs in Southwest Colorado, situated in the most beautiful mountain range to me in the world.
Oh my
God.
God.
They're built into, they're all natural. So it's like built into, the mud and the soil and the rocks. And happened to find myself there very late one evening, and there were only two of us present, and it was a very, very beautiful, hot moment.
I love that. Okay, I'm getting a visual. Is there a place second question, is there a place that you are like, oh my God, how hot would it be if I had sex in blank, like someplace, wherever. Maybe a place you have fantasized about, or
Yeah, I do. I love it. It's like, this is so fun because like great memories are coming back, and I'm like, but I haven't. So, actually, where I would really like to have sex, but I haven't yet, is my roof deck. I have a really awesome roof deck.
Okay.
And yeah, I think I'm putting that out into the universe. Thank you, Margaret.
Well, who can? And are there neighbors that could see, or does it sort of look out into woods?
Yeah, it kind of looks out to the Denver skyline, but neighbors, I guess, could, but there's definitely enough covering that they would have to be like really trying to see you.
I see. Yeah, that sounds pretty hot. I mean, even if somebody watched, who cares? Yeah,
there are two torches up there. They're like, it's nice, and a big long couch. Yeah, that's covered.
Oh.
And lots of flowers.
Yeah, I'm sure. And last question, what is currently at your bedside?
I was thinking, I think I'll walk over there, tell you truthfully. Okay, coconut oil, a candle, creme de corps Kiehl's lotion, earplugs, and an alarm clock. And I really recommend alarm clocks to people, and not using your phone as an alarm clock, so that you can at least give yourself 2 minutes of time to wake up before you start checking your texts and emails and all that.
Oh God, I give myself at least 2 hours in the morning before I do any of that stuff.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the 2 minutes was kind of a joke, but I think more of us than we would like to admit. I just realized that even if I was on airplane mode, there was something about having my phone wake me up that was so putting me into that to-do list place. And so just having an alarm clock, it's like, okay, I can put the phone in the living room at night before going to bed, and the bedroom is for sleep and rest and sex.
Well, it's also, you shouldn't have your cell phone near your body or your head, especially because of the electromagnetic fields or the radiation that comes out of your phone. Definitely not. And the worst is when you have it plugged in to charge and that's not near your head. That's like double dose of radiation. So no good. Don't want it near you. I think it has to be more than 6 feet away, at least.
Great. I'm all for that.
Oh my God, Kit. So listen, the next time I head into Colorado, we're meeting up. We're doing some kind of sex shop tour.
Awesome.
I love this.
So excited.
You're my new best friend. So
yes. I love this. This is so fun. I'm so grateful for you and your work and for having me on today.
Thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure. Our paths will absolutely cross again. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope that this interview really inspired you to be able to practice solo sex pretty regularly, maybe several times a week. And I know this is January and I'm not like a person that believes in resolutions, but maybe if you don't currently have any sort of self-pleasuring practice, maybe it would be a really great time to start incorporating it into your life somehow. And it could be as easy as, doing a little something in the shower or while you're taking a bath. So for more information on Kit Murray Maloney and Actually, you will find it in the show notes. If you go to margaretromero.com/episode 16. And I also have, in case you were wanting to know a little bit more about how to embody that sensual self, I do have a free gift that you can go ahead and access at margaretromero.com/gift. Hope you have a beautiful week. Love you all, and I'll talk to you soon.